Welcome to Get Offset. My name is Emily, and I think it's a perfect time to start that podcast you've been thinking about for the past 10 years. I think it's a great time. The world needs to hear what you have to say about the cinematic masterpiece Josie and the Pussycats, the live action movie. It's true. I'm not lying. Well, I'm here today courtesy of Sweetwater. They sent me this Mixcast 4 by TASCAM to demonstrate for you all. It is a really neat tool, and I've been using it myself in my podcast. Yes, there is a podcast. Most recently, I visited my friends at Recovery Effects in Seattle, Washington, and we recorded an episode of the podcast using this, because normally I record remotely via a separate tool. I didn't have a great way to record on the road, though. The Pacific Northwest has a wealth of great musicians, builders, etc., and I'd love to be able to bring the podcast to their space and do some interviews. And this is already helping me do that. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to have an overhead camera view and I'll walk you through all the software in this piece of hardware and how it works and how I use it. But there were some things I couldn't quite show you on that camera. So I'm going to show you now. You're going to hear me talk about using a headset. You can use a headset like a broadcaster style with this. You can plug it in right there and it will take up your channel 1. There are also on the back here, we have 4 of those microphone/TS cable inserts. So you can do 4 microphones for people talking. You can record demos on this with those instrument inputs and actually have like a nice hardware mixer. You have your SD card in there. It takes a normal size SD card, not a micro. You have a place to plug in a smartphone, though you will need the dongle adapter to get the TRRS. You can switch between that and another stereo line in audio source. There's also Bluetooth. There's an 1/8-inch line out there. There's a monitor out in stereo, USB plug, 4 headphones. That's the on button. There's that little lock thing. I think it's Kensington lock. I have never used one. Let me know in the comments if they're any good. And what I think is especially important is since this thing doesn't run on batteries, it has to run on this adapter. It locks in. So if somebody trips over it, hopefully you're not going to pull it out of the back of this. Pulling it out from the wall is another story. But yeah, let's get into the actual software and mechanics of using this thing. Let's switch to the other camera. Just so you know, the way I'm recording this is through my computer. So I have the monitor outs actually going into the stereo ends of my PreSonus 1810C. I'm only doing that so that I can show you some features that just aren't available while recording. But let's dig into it. So you can see right off the bat my level and then the left-right level. So obviously I'm the only person plugged into a microphone, but there can be more audio inputs. For example, I have connected this to my Bluetooth on my phone, so I can play music, audio clips, or I could have someone call in through that. There would probably be a little bit of latency at a minimum, probably around 32 milliseconds. So let's hear one of my songs. And I can talk over it. But you can see this is a very whooshy panning on the song. And you can see that going left and right in the mandolin. And the indicator. This song is singing. I'm going to shut it off. Shut it off. So that works. I think it works pretty seamlessly. I'm going to disconnect from Bluetooth now. Oh, there we go. I think it works really seamlessly. The Bluetooth thing, the phone, I'm not going to try that because I cannot find the dongle adapter. I tested it before and it did work, and then the dongle disappeared into the ether. They're about that big. So as you can see, it comes preloaded with 8 onboard effects. I think they're pretty pretty helpful. I'm not going to do beat, but you have like, oh my gosh, they're very annoying. You have brass, a little punctuation there, applause, that drum beat, heartbeat, very kind of morning radio, talk radio kind of things. You can also add your own via that software. That's really the only thing I was able to use the software for. So I have our intro and the song that we often fade out on. So those are the things that I have built into the sound pads. You can have multiple pages of them. You can have quite a lot of pages of them. So if you have your own kind of sounds that you want to add on, like a cat meowing or a specific kind of cue, you can do that. I recommend doing it once and then never doing it again. That's how I roll, but you can always add more. I, again, just found the software not super intuitive. Frankly, this might have been an issue with my cables. I had some connection problems. But hey, ultimately it worked. It probably took about 30 minutes to get those cues loaded on there, but that's not so bad. Okay, so let's look at this menu. There are 5 different blocks. So we'll just start with this one. This is how you can add effects and things onto each of these different inputs. Obviously, I'm the only input right now. So you can select your microphone type. A condenser is just going to add that phantom power on there. The front and the rear, there is this little TRRS here, and that can be used with a headset, like a broadcast style headset. So if that's what you're using, that's what you would select. Next we have, let's go to effect setting. So this basically enables you to add like a reverb. And I don't super see a huge use for this. You can, if you're in a very, very dry room and you want there to be some life in it, you would. Generally, I find that's not what people are looking for when they listen to podcasts is the room sound. If anything, I feel like you'd probably more want to remove reverb and outside sounds, and I will show you how to do that. But yeah, you can have a small room, medium, large. You can make it wetter. And then you can just do a manual one. So you can select a room type. This might be kind of cool if you're actually using this to record music. But I'm going to bypass that because I don't really like it using that. There's also a voice changer you can use.
So, yeah.
I think this one's pretty self-explanatory.
Again, not something I foresee people using a lot, but it's kind of a fun thing to have. Next, we're going to look into processing. And I have the noise suppressor on presently. So let's talk about it. My room's a little loud, so I like using the noise suppressor. It is a double-edged sword. I use this with recovery effects, and if you do use the noise suppressor, I highly recommend taking the time to fine-tune it for your room. Make sure the attack release threshold or what you want them to be. Same for a low-cut filter. I have it set to 80 and the noise gate. So it doesn't always allow for the most natural sound. Obviously, the best case scenario is that you are in a room that's not loud. Unfortunately, my room is a little on the loud side, so that's why I'm using that. You also have a de-esser, which again, I'm not using. I haven't felt a need for it. I have a pretty good microphone. The other thing I was going to say about the noise suppressor is if you use it, make sure everyone can monitor themselves. Otherwise, they might not know how much they're going in and out. I use this at Recovery Effects. There was a little bit of noise, so we turned on the noise suppressor. I didn't fine tune as much as I should have, and people weren't able to monitor themselves. So if you were just a little too far away from the microphone, we couldn't hear you. That did get evened out within the episode and I was able to fix it in post. But that was something that was like a hard lesson that I learned. And I don't want you to have to learn it the same way because not all experiences are good, Bianca. We also have ducking. See, the thing about me and ducking is I prefer to do it manually because sometimes people are talking at the same time. And yeah, you probably don't want them to talk too much over each other. But I feel like ducking is more valuable if you have like an audio track or playing some music in the background. You want the music to dip when people are talking. You don't really want it to be like people cross talking and it choosing the person to make audible. So I don't really like that setting. I'm going to not use it, but it's nice to have. So those are the effect settings, the voice settings. You have those for each of these. Some of these will have different ones. As you can see, mic 2 does not have the headset option. That's only for mic 1. And USB is just going to have some voice settings. Smartphone is only going to have some voice settings. And Bluetooth. This is actually also where you go to pair the Bluetooth. It was quite easy to do. I've had bigger problems with fancier equipment connecting to Bluetooth. I'm really impressed with the Bluetooth connectivity. It worked really, really well. Let's go to this play settings. This is essentially where you would go to listen back to things. So I don't have many recordings. I do have some from Recovery Effects, so I could play that back. That was just a clap, and I'm not going to get too far into it. There are some advanced settings. You can see mark there. You can mark specific sections of your podcast or whatever you're recording. Say you want to make sure you grab a clip from it, or maybe you want to edit that part out. Someone would just hit mark, and you'd be able to find it. So you can scroll through marks. I don't believe I had any. Yeah, because I wasn't the one manning this. You have your sound pads. You can change the colors. You can record to a pad directly. That's kind of neat. And you can have how it affects the other things. Like, is it going to mute all your other inputs? Is there nothing? So you might want it to mute other inputs if it's like an intro. The beauty of this is that the idea is that you don't have to do any post-production. I still had to with my Recovery Effects episode, partially because of the ducking that we didn't fine tune enough, but also, I just wanted a little bit more control. My husband was doing his best manning the faders. He was really writing those faders pretty hard. But if there is something that you go in and do later, I think it'd be better just to have all of those tracks separate. And I will show you how to separate them. Right? So that is the sound pad. There's also some hardware settings that you can dig into. You have some options here for your audio settings. Feedback prevention is interesting. I don't foresee you needing that unless you also have like speakers going with the podcast. So in that case, you would want feedback reduction. Again, I just don't really see a lot of people needing that, but it is a very good thing to have. Yeah, so those are a few of the audio settings. I'm not going to go through them all. There is a manual. It's quite in depth. So I'm going to do just kind of a quick recording with a few different elements. And I'm going to show you on Studio One how to then split those tracks. It's pretty easy. All right. So I'm just going to hit record. It's the red button there. So you can see I'm recording. I maybe got some applause. Neat. I am going to listen to some of my music. Maybe this sad ass song. So you see you have recording time up there, 30 seconds, and it is subtracted from the available time. Very helpful. And of course, you hit stop recording and then ask you if you're sure. Yes, bingo. And you can rename it. So there you go. I'm not going to. Go back into OK. Let's see that file. Red button there. So you can see I'm recording. I maybe got some applause. Neat. I am going to listen to some of my music. Maybe this sad ass song. So you see you have recording time up there, 30 seconds, and it is subtracting from the available time. Very helpful. Cool. So I'm going to break here. I'm going to plug this SD card into the computer, grab the audio file, and show you what it looks like once it's on the computer. There were obviously some other things I did there. One thing I did notice is that when the Bluetooth started and ended, it doubled my vocals. Obviously, it was pulling some audio from the microphone of the phone. Not sure why. That's going to be an easy fix, I suspect. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and, like I just said, plug this into the computer and show you what it looks like on in like Studio One or something. All right, see you in a sec. Okay, welcome back. I'm back to using the microphone through my interface or whatever. But yeah, let's look over here and you'll see this is all of the folders for the that came from the Mixcast SD card. You'll see I have my SoundPad stuff there, my other sound effects. But we want to look at the podcast. So this is obviously what I recorded. I'm just going to drag it in. So it's building the preview right now. But if you can tell, this is all on one track. And I don't really want that. Make this a little bit more visible. So what I'm going to do is I am going to put that file, I'm going to remove it. Remove the track completely. I'm just going to put it somewhere I can find it quickly. So I'm going to just drop it onto my desktop. Now I'm going to go up here to Files, Desktop, and I have the podcast 006. So I'm going to split these all to mono files. So they're all now split to mono files. That was like magic. So here's the original file down here. I am going to pull them all over and we'll take a look at them all together. I also love how it color coded everything for me. So clearly these weren't used at all. Remove them. And these are actually my main tracks. So I'm going to mute them. So let's look at everything here. This is a full wide view. Right here on the bottom, these are the main tracks. This is the, like, everything combined. That's my little stinger. That's the soundboard. This is the Bluetooth, and that's the file I was having some trouble with. And then here's my talking. So let's listen. That's the applause. I am going to listen to some of my music. That's me talking. Sounds pretty good. But here's where we had the problem. That ass song. Yeah, right there. So I don't know why it did that, and it bothers me. So I'm going to just zoom in and oops, delete that. Ass song, this sad ass song. And there that was. And it's over here where you can visually see. Let's solo it. Like, this should not have been picking up my vocals. So I'm going to break here. Yeah, I don't think it did it over here. So when audio is actually playing, it did not take anything from the mic, but in that interstitial time right before it started playing and right after it started playing, it recorded some vocal waves. So easy enough. Delete that. And let's ass song, maybe this sad ass song. see you have recording time up there, 30 seconds, and it is subtracting from the available time. Also, what I could have done is turned the Bluetooth volume down when I was talking manually. Obviously, I didn't do that, so I would probably want to do that in post, potentially with some automation just to make it really smooth. You also still have these in stereo, so if you pull up your console view here, you can still do one left, one right. There we go. So yeah, that was on me. I did, in fact, have a left and right version of that Bluetooth track. I just did not use it. So be careful when you're deleting files. I'm going to delete these as well. Go ahead and remove the parts where there was double Emily vocals. And maybe take these down. Well, obviously hard pan, vocals down the middle. Maybe drop this by 4. I don't think the applause is actually in stereo. Applause. It is. Applause. Maybe this sad ass song. So you see you have recording time up there, 30 seconds, and it is subtracting from the available time. Yeah, if I were to go back and heavily edit this, I would do some automation or some essentially ducking in post. See, that's one of the reasons you would use ducking, as I mentioned before, if there is music and you want to play it, but also when you talk, you want the music to go down. I could have used ducking for that. It would have made my post production a lot easier. The more you use this, the less post production you are going to rely on. Of that, I'm very confident. You're going to learn more about ducking. You're going to learn more about monitoring, and you're going to learn all those little tricks that just make it a seamless experience. And that goes for any piece of hardware or recording software. Even the more you use it, maybe even running some drills with it, it's going to make it a more essential tool in your library. Well, once again, thank you to Sweetwater for sending me this Mixcast 4. It's really great. I'm really looking forward to getting all around the Pacific Northwest with this bad boy and hopefully doing some more interview episodes of the podcast. If you haven't checked out the podcast, it's available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, YouTube. You can like, comment, subscribe here for more information about that. Or you can subscribe on like iTunes, Spotify. The video version of the podcast actually is also on Spotify, which is pretty cool. If you do plan on buying a Mixcast 4, microphones, anything else in the world, please consider using the affiliate link in the video description. That's the Sweetwater. It costs you $0 extra, but I do have a small portion of that sale shared back with me. It's a great way to support the channel doing things you were probably going to do anyway. And I always smile when I see someone has used that affiliate code. It really adds up and I appreciate you so much. But my favorite way to support the channel is to like, comment, subscribe. It costs you $0 to do that. We also have a Patreon at patreon.com/getoffset, which gives you access to our exclusive Discord server, which is a very fun place. One of my favorite corners of the internet. Yeah, what else? Oh yeah, tell your favorite brands about us. If there's anything you would like us to check out, let them know. Be like, hey, I want Emily from Get Offset to try this. You should send her it to demo. But as always, thanks for watching. Thanks for understanding. Until next time, my name is Emily. Goodbye.